Hello everybody. Today I'm going to do the 10 crafty questions. It's been going around for a little while now, and I've been tagged by a couple of lovely ladies. I've been tagged by Monique from Shabby Monique Bricante, and also Ivy from Ivy's Shabby Craft Cabin. Thank you ladies, that was really sweet of you. I'm not sure if I've done this before or not. I don't think I have. It comes and goes over the years, this tag, and I'm not sure whether I may have done it or not. But anyway, let's have a go at it. I don't think I'm a very interesting person, to be honest, so I don't know how good this is going to be. And I thought I'd just attempt at cutting a few butterflies out while I'm doing this, just to give you something to look at, although I'm not sure how good a job I'm going to do at it. This is glittered paper, so it's not as easy to cut as a normal paper. It's a Craft paper that I've had for years, and it's from the Enchanted Garden collection. But they will come in handy. It's really pretty, isn't it? But it's a thicker paper. Okay, first name. First question is your name, which is Jeanette. I prefer just Jeanette. I do have a surname, of course, which is Bagley, but I prefer just Jeanette. And I don't have a middle name. How did you choose your YouTube name? Out of desperation, actually. I was going to be taking part in a challenge, a Facebook challenge, actually. And I needed a YouTube channel, so I quickly made one, and that's all I could come up with. It was actually Scrap and Happy XO Craft. XO. That was the only one it was except through the suggestions I put in, and so that's what I did, and it didn't really worry me because I didn't think I'd be making any videos apart from this particular one, so that's what I got. But I didn't particularly like it, and it's taken me years and years, and I finally changed my name, was it this year or last year, to My Cottage Crafts, and I love that name. I love the fact that it's My with an I rather than a Y, just a little bit of difference there. So it wasn't, that one was by choice. The first one, Scrap and Happy XO, it was more out of desperation because I needed one there and then, and that's all I could get. Okay, your favourite craft style? Vintage. Vintage as in shabby glam, or shabby chic, or just shabby vintage. And when I say vintage, I don't mean 50s or 60s or 70s vintage. I mean like 1800s vintage. Antique vintage is what I like. I love that sort of thing, whether it's neutral colours or whether it's actually got muted colours in it. That's the sort of thing I like. And I like shabby. You know, throughout my life I've always been a little bit of a perfectionist with things, so I've almost had to train myself to be shabby, and it's been quite the experience, and I love it. I do. I love it. Yeah. So favourite place to shop for craft supplies? That would have to be op shopping or thrifting or charity shopping or garage sailing, yard sailing, car boot sailing, that sort of thing. That's my favourite place to find things, mainly because you never know what you will find, and you always, it's the thrill of finding something that I like. Although I sometimes have to stop going for a while because I get too much. I always seem to find something lovely, which is wonderful, but, you know, do you need all that stuff in the long run? That's, you know, you've got to have somewhere to put it, don't you? And I don't like stuff on my floor, so that's where I like to shop. And of course, you know, you get your staples and things like that, but that's my favourite place to shop. Sorry, I'm distracted by cutting butterflies. This is a thicker card, so it's a little bit tricky to get. top 5 crafters you follow. Now I'm going to do what a few other ladies have done, and I'm not going to answer that one because I would hate for anybody to be missed out. I would, you know, I don't want to, I think we have favourites at different times, to be honest. It depends what you're making, and there's different kinds of favourites. Like there's people I watch purely for their personality, and there's people I watch purely for their talent, and people I watch just because they come up with really good ways of doing things. So I don't want to answer top 5 crafters. Maybe I can swap it out for who I was most influenced by to start crafting on YouTube. That may, unless that's in there. When did you, yeah, that's what I might do. Who influenced me? When I first started my YouTube channel, I came across Louisa Diaz, and I think she's Kitty's Craft or something now. I found her channel and I was amazed that people crafted on YouTube, and I would never even considered myself a crafter. I just made things. That's how I referred to myself. I wasn't a crafter. To me, a crafter was somebody who made lacy tissue boxes, and I never wanted to be that person, although I've made 2. And I came across hers, and that's when I went to her Facebook page, and she was having a challenge. She was looking for people, different people from around the world to, you know, join in on the things she was doing on Facebook. So, but you had to have a YouTube channel. So I started a YouTube channel, and the first thing I made was a paper plate. But then, you know, starting that, and people watched. I was amazed. Starting that from Louisa's little group, I came across other channels, and those other channels, now, see, I remember Louisa was the very first person I saw on YouTube, and there was a group of ladies. Oh, they were so talented. There was, I was amazed. I used to just sit there with my mouth open virtually watching. There was Annie, Miss Garden Grove 1. Oh, she did amazing work, and she still does to this day. And I couldn't believe the stuff that she could make. And there was Va. Amazing work. I really wish she still was on YouTube. She's beautiful crafter. And Bonnie, Sassy, is it Sassy Scrapper? She's no longer on YouTube. Oh, hers was the first, I think, lace book I ever saw. And the amount of laces that she would put on her book, it was made. I never had any lace at this stage. I didn't even like lace, really, back then. I was never a lace lover. I liked doilies, but only a particular style of doily. But I never really liked lace. And these ladies got me loving lace. And there was also Trisha, a little shabby chic. And she introduced Lily, and that's what opened my world up to what was possible, the way Lily did things, because Lily didn't have a lot of the supplies that these other ladies did, and neither did I, so I could really relate to the fact that she made something out of nothing. And that's what I love, because I don't have a big craft budget. You know, I don't like to spend a lot of money on crafts, because we don't have enough, you know, we don't have a big budget. So I could relate to Lily. back in those days. And so, yeah, she was really influential. I loved watching her videos, but she doesn't do videos anymore. See, a lot of these ladies, they don't do videos anymore. And here's another one. There was also Fiona Jennings. I think I may have learnt to make flowers from Fiona Jennings. And then there's Roseanne, of course. And back then Roseanne did a lot of darker type of projects, and that really wasn't my style, but I loved the way she taught things, and I still do to this day. I love the way Roseanne can teach. She just has a very smooth voice to listen to, and I really, really enjoy that. So that's what I'm going to say. I wouldn't, I'm not going to say favourites. I'm going to say they are the people that influenced me to craft in the beginning. And I hope, see, even now I'm thinking, I hope I haven't left anybody out, because I don't want to be hurtful to anybody. That wouldn't be nice. Okay, next one. I see I was going to skip that one, wasn't I? But I didn't. But I just changed it up a little bit. Next one. Your favourite colour. Now, my favourite colour is blue. And it's that really, let me show you, this kind of blue. This beautiful, beautiful, it's like a soft French blue. That being said, I don't actually craft with a lot of blue. You see, blue is my favourite colour in my life. My lounge is blue. I have blue and white china and things like that. But my craft room isn't that blue, to be honest. Oops, just a moment. I think my husband just came home. Okay, sorry about that. My husband came home. It was raining overnight. We haven't had rain in so long, a good rain. So he couldn't work today because of the rain on the job he was doing. So he's home today. So where were we up to? Favourite colour. Okay, so although blue is my favourite colour, I don't always craft with a lot of blue. I love muted colours. I don't like anything bright. Like candy colours. They're not kind of my thing. I can appreciate them, but they're not really my thing. I love soft colours. I'm trying to think of something, but this is a gorgeous colour. It's like that blush pink colour. I like soft greens and soft blues and soft pinks and maybe a little bit washed out. Like, I don't craft with red, but I think red has a place. Like at Christmas, red has a place. Or if you're doing something boho, it has a place. I don't particularly like orange. But, sometimes it could work. In fact, I really don't think I have anything orange, which is by choice, because I just don't use it. And I have very little with yellow, but I do have some yellow because I know it works well. Like if you're doing something like a cottage garden type thing, yellow works very well in that sort of thing. So muted colours are more my thing. That's what I'm going with. Nothing candy-fied. Your favourite colour? Favourite tool? Apart from the things like glue, scissors, which we all absolutely need, and cutters and things like that, I love my sewing machine. I've always had a sewing machine since I was young. I've actually, it sounds terrible, I've actually got 3, but 2 of them are not mine. They're remnants of my daughter's. Oh, Mum, can I just leave this here with you? And they're only like start-up sewing machines, so they're not that good. I tend to think they feel like toys, but I use them for my paper sewing. So I hope they never want them back, because I doubt they would be much good for fabric sewing. And my good ones put away while I'm doing paper stuff at the moment, because I don't want to ruin it. It is an old Janome. I love it, but I know it has there's a limited amount of time it's got left in its life, and I don't want to put it in an early grave. So my sewing machine, I love this. This is called the Purple Fang, and you use it with your sewing, and it has quite a few different purposes, but mainly when you're sewing you can push things under the needle and runch them up instead of having to use your fingers. It kind of grips, because it's a plastic, it grips, and you can use it for stuffing, like, what am I doing here? I'm making little lavender sachets at the moment, and they've got wadding in them as well as lavender. Oh, it smells divine. And you can stuff things with it. Like when I make my sewing machines and my boots and things, it's excellent for, it just grips to the wadding and you can shove it in. So this is like a little multi-purpose tool, and I really, really love it. I need to invest in another one though, because I've used it so much it's starting to get a little bit weak. And I think I got that on maybe eBay. Just look up the Purple Fang, T-H-A-N-G. I don't know if that will pick up. Very useful. So I love those, and I also love these little clips, great for sewing and for paperwork, for holding things in place when you're making signatures for your books and things like that. So that's really good. So my sewing machine, my Purple Thing, and little clips would be my most useful, probably my most useful, apart from the basics. Where did your love of crafting come from? I was going to say I don't know, but thinking of it, my mum used to sew when we were young, and she used to knit when we were young, but I always got the feeling she never enjoyed it. You know, I always got the feeling it was out of necessity rather than out of the joy of doing it. So like now she does nothing because she doesn't have to do anything. So, but she was very good at what she did, but she just did not enjoy it. So I guess I got it from her, but you know, I enjoy it, whereas she didn't really seem to enjoy it at all. My father didn't really do anything creative like that. Even my brother and sister, they don't do anything creative like that. I'm the only one, apart from my mother, I think, who used to do, who does anything like this. Next one. When did you first start crafting? Okay, the first that I recall crafting was when I was about perhaps 11 or 12. I needed to make some pocket money because my family wasn't very affluent. We had to earn everything we were given, basically, and we only got necessities. You know, there were no real luxuries. So if we wanted something, we had to work out a way of getting it ourselves. Oh, this is hard to see sometimes. And I remember seeing something in a shop window. Oh, Molly, she's trying to wake James up because he's on school holiday at the moment. He's normally up at this time and he's sleeping in. I saw a tile, and it had a picture on the tile, and it was, is it paper tile, I think? I'm not sure what it's called. And it was like dimensional, and I thought, oh, I could do that. So I went to this is back in the days kids could just roam around as they pleased. I went to the hardware and I got myself, I think, a 10-pack of white tiles. And I went to the newsagent and I got some wrapping paper, and it was Holly Hobby because I loved Holly Hobby. And I proceeded to make some glue out of flour and water, and I did my own. I kind of just taught myself to do it, and I made these little images on these plaques, and I popped them up with rice, and I put little velvet ribbon hangers on the back, and I walked up and down the street and I sold them all. I can't remember how much I sold them for, but I made a wonderful profit. And I remember my parents were rather amazed that I'd done this, and because you know they both worked, they weren't home an awful lot. So that was the very first. Yeah, that was the very first I recall crafting. After that, I used to love drawing. Oh my goodness. All my childhood was spent drawing. I loved drawing. I was a bit of a hermit, I guess. Like, I had friends and we went out, but I loved nothing more than being by myself, doing my own thing, and I still do. And I used to draw and draw and draw. And then as I was in my late teens, I was at church and there was a new girl there, and she used to dress in the most beautiful styles, just like out of a Vogue magazine or something like that. She had the most beautiful clothes, and I thought, oh. And my mum knew her mum, and I was talking about her in the car going home, how beautiful her clothes were, and my mum said, oh, her mother makes them all for her. And something sparked in me, and I thought, she makes them? My first thought was, well, why can't you make my clothes? But I knew my mum didn't enjoy that sort of thing. So I'd done a bit of sewing at school because we had to. And I thought, well, maybe I can make some clothes. So my sister gave me her sewing machine that she'd never really used. And I started sewing. And I kind of just taught myself, and I'd ask my mum a few questions, and, you know, she'd help out. She knew how to sew quite well, but, you know, she just didn't enjoy it. And I started sewing, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. But I didn't think it was crafting, it was sewing. And that's sort of where it started, and I used to, that's all I did, sew. Didn't make anything else. But then when the children started being born, it got harder and harder to sew. So I didn't sew, but I, you know, spent years making stuff for them for school with like dress-ups and stuff like that. And then, what was it? Oh, and then I met a lady. She used to live next door to me, and she was doing some patchwork, and I thought, well, that's wonderful, but it was very expensive, and you know, I had probably 3 or 4 children by that stage, and I couldn't afford these fancy patchwork things that, you know, looked so beautiful, not thinking that I could have got secondhand fabric or anything like that. I had no budget back then for anything. But anyway, she introduced me to another lady who used to do patchwork once a week in her home. So me, being the hermit that I was, decided to go out of my comfort zone and go to this lady's house and, you know, see if I could join the group sort of thing. And I did, and they were lovely ladies, and that lasted for a little while. But then they all stopped doing that, and the lady started doing scrapbooking instead, which I loved, because I loved paper. I used to work in offices, and I was probably the only person I knew who used to love buying stationery, because it was intoxicating going to the stationers. You know, I loved paper. Kind of weird. But anyway, she introduced me to scrapbooking. Actually, she started selling scrapbooking supplies, and I got suckered in, I guess. But I enjoyed it. And I did that until my son was born. And then everything kind of stopped after that. And then a few years later, when he was about 2, I did, was it? No, it was before he was born, actually. Anyway, around that time, I discovered, it was after he was born, because I discovered that it was not a good idea to have these sharp things around, because I didn't have a craft room or anything, with a toddler. So I needed to find something else, and I found digital scrapbooking. And so I did digital scrapbooking. I was a digital scrapbook designer, which I don't think any of you know, but I was, and I did that for quite some time, quite successfully. And then I had to stop because he was getting older and I needed to devote my time to him. So I stopped doing that. And then when he was quite a bit older, I found YouTube. And that's how I started crafting. And that was very long-winded, that answer. I don't even know if I answered the question. What was the question? When did you first start crafting? Yep, so that's how that came about. Sorry. Okay, favorite craft at the moment. Oh, see, I did craft in between that. Oh, goodness. Oh, that's so tiny. Favorite craft at the moment. I'd like to say journal making, but you know, it's not my favorite. It is part of my favorite. I like everything that I do. And I think journal making is kind of popular at the moment. It's a bit like that that other thing that was going on, pocket letters. You know, they were really, really popular. And then they tend to die down. I've made journals for a few years now when it takes my fancy to do it, you know, but I'm quite happy to not do it and make something out of fabric and lace and pretty things. I just love the combination of papers and lace and fabric, and I think journals or books of any kind actually are great for that. That's what it's not journal making that I like, it's book making, because I'm quite as happy making a fabric book as I am making a journal to write in. So I like making books out of anything, I guess. But then I love making things out of fabric and lace, like sewing machines and boots and things like that. So I don't really have a favourite. So I don't know how well I answered that question. I wonder if I'm going to have to record this again, because honestly, no, it's meant to be, isn't it? So, as I was saying, in between, when I had 4 children before my last one was born, we lived in a little house, but it had a shop attached to it. And back then, my husband used to make things out of wood. So we opened a little shop there. I'd completely forgotten about that. And it was mainly to sell his wooden products. And we used to take other people's things in on commission. And I actually did make things. But even then, I never thought I was a crafter. I just made things. And the name of the shop was called The Gift Maker. And this is, my daughter was a baby then. So this is almost 20 years ago. Actually, it's over 20 years ago, and I'd completely forgotten. Isn't that weird? It was called The Gift Maker, and I did make things then, but like I said, I never kind of regarded myself as being a crafter. Because to me, a crafter was somebody who made lacy tissue boxes, and that's not what I wanted to be. It's funny how you get these ideas in your head. I can't even see that side of the butterfly for that one. I'm going to have to shape it by myself, I think. So yes, we had that, but we didn't have that for too long because my daughter came along. We had that before she was born. My daughter came along, and you know, with little ones, you have to devote your time to them. They're only little for such a short time. So I think we had that maybe for about a year. I used to make a lot of things out of buttons, to be honest, back then. And, you know, the Suffolk puff flowers. I used to make pictures. I used to get old picture frames and paint them in a distressed way and get some twigs and glue the twigs on and make Suffolk puff flowers. And I used to make things out of little terracotta plant pots and put a dowel in them and make like Suffolk puff flowers on top. And I used to make bird houses back then as well. So yeah, that's a bit of a jolt from the past, how I'd forgotten. I've actually, yeah, this is the original business card I had. This used to go on items in the shop like that. That is not my phone number now, of course, because this is in a different town. The old post office. Remember I told you I have those little things, these from the cash register of these vintage post office. Well, this is the shop, and it was called The Gift Maker, and it was in Woombye. So yes, I did craft, but you know, for some reason we forget these things, didn't we? But like I said, I made things. I was not a crafter. I had an aversion to the word crafter, I think. So that is it. So okay, I'm going to tag a couple of ladies. Now ladies, if you don't want to do that, that's fine, and you may have already been tagged and I don't know about it, and that's fine too. But I just thought I was watching someone else and they mentioned how they'd like to tag some Australian ladies, and I thought that's a nice idea. I might try and tag some Australian ladies too, but if you've already been tagged, I completely understand. So I'm thinking Debbie from Crafty Stuff, Pam from Honeybee Crafting, Sonia Steptoe, and Irene, Seriously Scrapping. Now, like I said, if you've already done it and you don't want to do it, that's fine, but it's nice to tag someone, and why not tag someone from Australia, seeing as I live in Australia. And I think that's it. So I hope I didn't bore you to death, ladies. I really do. And I hope that's not too over the place. I'll have to watch it back. Oh, I'm not a very interesting kind of person, I don't think. Yeah. Well, I think I'm interesting. You know, I love my own company, but people might not think that. My daughter says I need to get out more. I once suggested to her that I should get my shopping delivered online, my groceries, because I hated doing grocery shopping. She says, no Mum, you have to get out of the house. I know I'm not the only one who thinks that way either. Anyway, that's enough from me. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.